Hi guys, I hope you're good. We're now looking at Shoprite Holdings Limited, and I am on the monthly chart as you guys can see. And yeah, without wasting any further time, let's get straight into the actual chart. So, what do we see, guys, in regards to the monthly chart of Shoprite Holdings Limited? The first thing that I can see in regards to this chart is the fact that we have a gap at this point, right? What gaps represent is liquidity, and liquidity is money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another. So, as much as at this point in time it seems as if the market is in a very strong upward trajectory, what will happen in the future is that we will see the market push further down to this level. And if the market does do that, at this point is where I will be looking to buy, because this is a very great area to be buying, because the name of the game in as far as this endeavor goes is um, buy low and sell high, meaning we need to buy when price has crashed and sell when price is at its all-time highs. Like for example, at this level over here, right? This is the previous all-time high. So when the market reaches this level, a lot of people, or rather, a lot of traders and investors will be looking to sell, right? Nonetheless, having said that, I'm not necessarily saying at this point in time that we should be buying or selling. I'm just showing you what it is that I see in regards to the monthly chart of this particular company, which is Shoprite Holdings Limited, right? So what else do we see, guys, in regards to the monthly chart of Shoprite? Another thing that I see that is also very much interesting is that as much as we have a gap at this point, we also have this candlestick over here, right? Let me just circle it properly. What it is a bearish candlestick with a small body and quite a long lower wick. So it too tells us that there's a lot of liquidity stuck at that bottom, right? And that in the future we will see indeed the market head down to this level to grab that liquidity. Having said that, this could take years to happen, and so what this means is that at this point in time this level is not that important. However, having said that, should the market reach this level over here, right, there's quite a chance that the market may then push further down to this level, and that is because if you look closely, it would have formed a very nice M structure. And when it comes to M structures, what normally happens is that a lot of traders and investors sell on that second leg of that M structure, and as the anticipation rather is for the market to push at least to the neckline, which would be over here of this M structure, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see, guys, in regards to the monthly chart? At this point, I don't see much. Let me just zoom in a bit and just also point out that the market had attempted to create a very nice M structure over here, as you guys can see, with this side being the first leg and this side being the second leg, right? And what happened was that, so we had the market creating a very nice M structure, right? But it didn't quite complete that structure. And then because a lot of people usually sell on the second leg of that M structure, we saw the market pushing further up to stop hunt rather all of those stop losses that are sitting there. Because what normally happens, guys, is that, as I've said, a lot of traders and investors sell on that second leg of that M structure, and they place their stop losses just above. That's if you're trading. Hence we saw these two candlesticks, right? The market just went up to trigger all of those stop losses, and we might then see it push further down from there, right? But just keep in mind that the all-time high is here, and ideally I would love to see price come to that level to test it. And at this level is where a lot of sellers will be waiting to short the market, and I would love to see the market push further down to this area, right? Anyway, let's proceed, guys. So from here, what I'm going to do is head down to the weekly chart, and here we are on the weekly chart. Let's see. Can you see that now that we are on the weekly chart, this gap over here is better visible, right? It's a huge gap actually, and there's a lot of money sitting there. And as I've said, guys, in the future we will see indeed the market pushing down to that level. Anyway, let's proceed. So what do we see in regards to the weekly chart? On the weekly chart, remember, guys, on the monthly chart I spoke about how we had this M structure over here, right? But it didn't quite play itself out. We saw the market pushing further up to grab all of those stop losses that were sitting at that point. As much as that's the case, guys, we also have an overextended W structure here, right, where the first leg is much lower than the second leg, right? And you also know that whenever it comes to W structures, we want to see price breaking to the upside of that neckline, coming back to the neckline to test it, and at that neckline is where we normally look for potential buying opportunity, right? However, what normally, or rather what actually happened here, was that the W structure formed, right? The neckline was here, price broke rather to the upside of that neckline, came back to test the neckline, but we can see that the neckline failed to hold price, as we saw price pushing further down, right? So that means that this W structure at this point is no longer valid, in my humble opinion, right? Anyway, let's proceed. What else do we see, guys, in regards to this chart, which is the weekly chart? I also see at this level another liquidity candlestick. It is this bearish candlestick with a small body and quite a long lower wick. So we have a lot of liquidity sitting at that point, and that also indicates that in the future we will see the market push further down to grab this liquidity over here, right? We have another one at this point as well, right? As you guys can see, we have another one here and another one there, right? So all of these levels, right, are carrying a lot of liquidity, and as I've said, liquidity represents money that needs to be triggered by the market at one point or another, right? Anyway, let's proceed. So what else do we see, guys? I don't see much at this point in time. So what I will do is head down to the daily chart. Let's see. And just to recap, guys, remember on the weekly chart I spoke about how we have, or rather how we had this W structure, and I said that it had a neckline at that point, and that this neckline, or rather this W structure, is no longer valid because we saw price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, right? So it is no longer valid, and we can just ignore it, right? However, before we continue, I just want to start off by adding my daily channel. Let's see, how would I add my daily channel in this instance? Let's see. I would add my daily channel more or less in this manner. Just bear with me, guys. Let's see. My daily channel more or less would be something like this. And just remember that we need to ensure that our channels, or whatever drawings that we add to our charts, are as accurate as can be, just to ensure that at the end of the day, when we do execute, our execution is also very much up to standard, right? So we could say that this is our daily chart more or less. That should be fine, right? And we can just zoom in from there, right? So what do we see, guys, now that we are on the daily chart? So on the daily chart, the first thing that I can see is that we have, or rather we had, this very nice M structure, which had a neckline at that point more or less, right? And we saw price breaking to the bottom side of the neckline at this point, and then hitting back and closing above that neckline, which in my humble opinion made this information rather invalid to a certain degree. Nonetheless, this level over here is a very strong level of support, or rather resistance, and that is because we had this M structure prior to that, and we saw price playing in, or rather rejecting, that area. So in the future, should price come back to this level, we might potentially see the market push further down. And that is because, guys, just like with W formations, whenever we have M structures, we want to see price breaking to the bottom side of that neckline, right? And then going back to the neckline to test it. And at that neckline is where a lot of the time price would then move further down, right? So let's see. So what I'm going to do now is just add a neckline for that M structure, right? Let's see. It's not that strong at this point, and that is because, guys, as I said, at this point, right, after price broke to the bottom side of that neckline, right, it went up again. I'm closing way above that neckline, right? Having said that, this level is a somewhat strong level of resistance, and that is because if you look at this level over here, this entire level, we've had multiple rejections at that point, right? We've had multiple rejections at that point, and in the future price may head back to that level to test it, and at that point is where we might potentially see price move further down, right? Another thing that I also want to point out is that as much as we have this M structure over here, remember guys, what I said was whenever we have W structures, a lot of traders buy, or a lot of traders and investors buy on that second leg of that W structure. When it comes to M structures, right, a lot of traders and investors sell on the second leg of that M structure. So because we had this M structure over here, a lot of people actually sold at this point, as the anticipation was for price to move further down, at least to reach firstly this level, because that's, some would say, where the formation started, right? And others would say they expect price to reach this level because that's where they would say it started, right? Having said that, remember that we also have this trend line over here. We have this trend line over here, right, which would act as a dynamic support. And even if price comes rather down to this area, we are likely to see a bounce off of this area and the market pushing up to at least this level over here, because this level will then be a very strong level of resistance, as there's been multiple rejections at that point as well. Can you guys see that? And actually, speaking of that area, the area right now is a very strong level of support, and that is because we've had multiple rejections in and around that area. If I can just mark it in this manner, just bear with me guys. Let's see, we could say that this entire area over here, right, is a very strong area of support, because we've had a rejection here, a rejection there, multiple rejections over here, another one over here. And can you see that price actually attempted to close below that area, but at this point it has given us a very long lower wick, right? A pin bar, you could say. And this indicates that we might potentially see the market push further up, because as I said, this at this point in time is a very strong level of support. And just also remember that because of this M structure, and a lot of people selling at this point, we have a lot of stop losses that are sitting at that level. And what may actually happen is that the market may reject this area and then push further up to grab all of those stop losses that are sitting there, and then actually push further up. Because if we can just go back to the monthly chart, on the monthly chart, remember that we spoke about this area over here, and it's the previous all-time high. And once price reaches this area over here, a lot of people will be looking to sell at this level. Some will be taking profits, some will be selling, right? But as far as buying goes, myself personally, I would not be buying this particular stock at this level over here. I would not be buying it. I would rather wait for it to reach this level, and at that level is where I would look for potential buying opportunities. That's where I would look for potential buying opportunities. Nonetheless, let's proceed, right? So here we are on the daily chart again, guys. And as I said, guys, price at this point in time is working on this area over here, right? And if we get a breakout to the bottom side, chances are it'll come to like test this trend line over here, and then we will see what happens next, right? Anyway, from here, what I'm gonna do is head down to the H4 chart. However, before I do so, I just want to point out that should price push further down to test this area and close below this area, what I would then do is wait for the market to at least close below this area. Once it does so, chances are that it'll push further down to at least this area, and then also maybe further down, right? Um, Once it breaks this area as well, right? Anyway, these areas are not that important at this point in time. They're still very much far off. But for now, I'm just going to head down to the H4 chart. So here we are on the H4 chart. The first thing that I'm going to do in regards to the H4 chart is to add my H4 channel. Let's see, how would I add my H4 channel? Let's have a look. I would do it in this manner, more or less. Just bear with me, guys. yeah, so more or less that would be my H4 channel, right?